why do I say all this? First of all, you have a bunch of people who, as my Joe Rogan clip is going viral, will say that the Moors were not black. They'll say the Moors were Arab. And it's more nuanced than that. It's way more nuanced than that. Its chilly heights rendered it distasteful to lovers of sunshine like the Moors. And it confided it chiefly to the care of the Berber tribes, who had first come over with Tariq and who were always held in poor estimation by the true Arabs who reaped the fruits of the conquest. The Moors organized against that wonderful kingdom of Cordova, which was the marvel of the Middle Ages, in which, when all of Europe was plunged in barbaric ignorance and strife, alone held the torch of learning and civilization bright and shining before the Western world. It must not be supposed that the Moors, like the barbarian hordes who preceded them, brought desolation and tyranny in their wake. On the contrary, never was Andalusia so mildly, justly, and wisely governed as by her Arab conquerors. So, why do I say all this? First of all, you have a bunch of people who, as my Joe Rogan clip is going viral, will say that the Moors were not black. They'll say the Moors were Arab. And it's more nuanced than that. It's way more nuanced than that. Because the Moors truly are supposed to be just the Berbers, just the black Africans of North Africa. That's truly what Moor at that time period meant. But later on, Moors encompasses both groups. So in the book, he says, we're going to, use the term Berber when we're talking about Berbers, and Arabs when we're talking about Arabs. But most of the time, Moor means both Arabs and Berber as they're one whole tribe. So as the Moors proper, which is the blacks or the Berbers, the Moors proper, when they take over Andalusia, they don't get the best land. The Arabs take the best land for themselves, and the Moors, as they see here, they get the chilly heights, and all the stuff where they don't get good sun, okay? And the Arabs get the best of it, right? So it's two groups here that we're basically killing. Number one, modern day Moors. These niggas, they go, oh, we was Moors and we was great. No, you wasn't great. You was subjugated by the Arabs, right? You was they bitch, nigga. That's what you was doing. You was they bitch, okay? Let's be clear, okay? And then the woke right, who thinks that black people weren't the Moors, right? It's just like, wait a second, you gotta slow down. Those are definitely black people. Those are definitely black African people, right? And then another thing they like to do, they like to say sub-Saharan. They always do the sub-Saharan thing. It's like, well, so we're just gonna ignore all the other parts of Africa and just focus on everything in the mountains? Okay, all right, no problem. You got it, buddy, you got it. Because obviously, black people don't exist in Northwest and East Africa. Anyway, so the next point I'd like to make is, in this paragraph right here, when all of Europe was plunged into barbaric ignorance and strife, alone held the torch of learning and civilization bright and shining before the Western world. So what you see here is they're bringing civilization into Europe. Europe has been plunged into barbarism, ignorance, and strife. And under the Moors, or the Arab conquerors, they get a just system. The Spaniards were as much pagan as Christian. The new creed promulgated by Constantine had made little impression among the general mass of the population, who were still predominantly Roman. What they wanted was not a creed, but the power to live their lives in peace and prosperity. This, their Moorish masters gave them. There was a hierarchy in the Moorish Empire. At the top, you got the Arab. At the next level, you got the black man. And at the bottom, you got the subjugated Franks. Well, the Franks, they're going to fight the Franks, and the Franks are a really tough opponent. But you got the Spaniards, and you got the remnants of the Roman Empire, or Western Roman Empire, and all those white people in that area. All of them are going to be subjugated, right? So when they say Moorish masters, they're talking about both Arab and both black African or Berber peoples, right? So the same way you have this hierarchy in Japan, when we went over the Tokugawa Empire, you got your guys on top, then you got your samurai, then you got your next level, right? So you got all of that stuff, right? So they have the same sort of hierarchy set up here. And as you see it, they call them Moorish masters, right? Because these are people that are in control, right? But also you see that the Spaniards were as much pagan as Christian, right? So, it wasn't that they were unreligious or too religious. It was like, man, we can't even live in peace and prosperity, bro. Like, how am I supposed to pray to God and I can't even live, So it shows how people under European rule is living tough. It's living tough. It's hard living.